Now for this hem finish, we're just going to do a plain hem with an overlocked edge. So the hem is at the bottom of the garment, and usually the hem allowance is more than the seam allowance. So the seam allowance we work with is 1 centimetre, but depending on the hem type, it could also be 1 centimetre, but for this one, we're going to do 2 centimetres. So I'm just going to mark from the edge I'm going to do the hem at a 2 centimetre line. You could cut this as a notch. So if I were to cut this as a notch, I would just do a little teeny snip. Now the first step is to overlock this edge. So I'm going to overlock this edge without trimming anything off so it doesn't fray. So you pop it under, line it up with this line or the cutting blade. Make sure you've got a long tail to start with and gently feed it through. Leave a nice long tail for the next person, and that's your overlocked edge. So ready to stitch my hem up. I've got my 2 marks. So all I need to do is fold my fabric at those 2 marks. Now normally when you use a pattern, it does ask you to cut a notch at the hem. So if I were to do that, it would just be a little snip at that point. And then you'd do the same, fold it up at those notches. I could iron this, but I'm not going to because I'm using a nice woven cotton. I can just give it a light finger press. So back at your machine, you're going to line up your fabric. So you're stitching somewhere between here and the edge of the overlocking. You don't want to stitch this end, you want to stitch up here so that secures that hem allowance. So pop it under. Use your little etch to line up between those 2 points. And you can start stitching reverse stitch. As you go along, make sure this is nice and flat. Pinch it together and stitch your hem. Finish with a reverse stitch, and that's it, done. So that is your hem finish. That's the inside, and it would look like that on the outside.